Hello and welcome to the Cat Knits podcast. I'm Kat or Catherine, and this is my monthly knitting podcast where, as you guessed it, I chat all about the knitting that I've been up to in the past month. And there's definitely been a bit of a theme lately, and that is baby knits. So I'm currently 7. I'm into my 8th month of pregnancy. So I've been focusing on getting some knits together because frankly for the first half of it I didn't knit anything, and now I'm starting to realize that I kind of would like a couple hand knit items to put the baby girl in. So that's been my focus lately. So I'm actually only going to show baby knits. If you're interested in baby knits, then please continue, but totally understand if you're more of an adult knit kind of person. I find once you start knitting adult sweaters, it's kind of hard to go back. Baby sweaters are awesome though, because they typically are one skein projects. You can definitely get them done within a couple of weeks. You can learn new techniques. I personally love knitting baby clothes. I think some of my first projects were actually baby items for other people, just because they're quite satisfying. You get to knit a whole little sweater within a couple weeks, or within a weekend if you're a serious knitter. I can't knit that fast, but I've heard of people being able to knit that fast. Well, sorry, my brain turned off there for a second, so going back into it. So I actually started a new project this month, which is what I'll start with. And this is my 6-month-old project. So I'm kind of hoping to have a 3-month, 6-month, 9-month, and 1-year project, as well as a baby blanket done before the baby is born. I completed the 9-month-old project last month, which was the Ellen's Coming Home set. That's the one that I did in this beautiful purple half silk, half merino yarn. And so one of the projects is done, and then I cast on the 6-month-old project, and that is this one. So continuing with the silk theme, this is actually a 20% silk, 80% superwash merino. It is called Life in the Long Grass, and I do have the tag because I was just looking at it. I have actually never knit with silk yarn before, so this is my first time knitting with silk. These are my first 2 projects that I've ever done with silk yarn. This one is 20% silk, whereas the one that I finished last month, this one is, I think, 50% silk. They're incredibly soft yarns. They're incredibly drapey yarns. I'm curious how the silk is going to wash and wear and hold up. I think silk adds strength for the most part. I think it also adds a little bit of cooling factor. Like, it helps it stay cooler in the summer, which will be great because who knows when these items will actually fit. 6 months should bring me kind of to December, which is the start of winter. So, but hopefully I might be able to wear this kind of at the tail end of, or she might be able to wear this at the tail end of spring. So this is the Itty Bitty Pretty Sweater by Maison Dene, and it is a top-down raglan sweater, as you can see. And it's got, for the raglan detail, you do little yarn overs, which are pretty darn cute. There is a little back row, short row shaping, which I appreciate in the sweater, which I think will make it fit better. And then it's got this wonderful little kind of lace detail down the front. This is my 3rd time knitting this sweater, and all 3 times I've knit it in this size. When I did it for someone who didn't know if they were having a boy or girl, I just omitted the lace detail in the front. So this is a fingering weight yarn that I'm knitting it with, and what the pattern calls for. I love, for some reason, I love a baby knit in a variegated yarn. I think it just ups the cuteness factor. So this is a yarn that I've never used before. It's called Life in the Long Grass, and either the colorway or this type of yarn is called Moon, but there is nothing else on here that says the colorway. And I have a feeling Moon is not the colorway. I think Moon is probably the fact that this is a fingering weight yarn, 80% merino and 20% silk, like the actual description of the yarn. So unfortunately I can't say the exact color, but I did buy this in Vancouver at Bad Anna's Yarn. So you might be able to find the color if you're looking for this exact yarn. It's actually an Irish, well, it's hand dyed in Ireland. And then it makes its way all the way to Canada, which I'm located in Vancouver, BC, Canada, which is the west coast of Canada. The yarn itself has been really lovely to work with. So it's actually a bit of a thicker yarn. So for 100 grams, you get 365 meters. So I'd almost say this is like kind of verging on a sport weight yarn. There is no information actually about the gauge or kind of if they say it's a fingering or not, which is interesting. But I've been treating it like a fingering and it's been working out really well. This pattern is knit on 3.5 millimeter needles. That's another important thing when deciding what to knit is how big are the needles? The bigger the needles, the faster the project. So it is a fingering weight yarn, but at least it's, you know, socks are kind of in that 2 to 3 millimeter zone, whereas this is above a sock weight kind of needle. It'll be a long sleeve sweater, so I'm gonna pick up and knit both of these sleeves. I've done this, like I said, a couple times before, and I'll have lots of yarn left over. It's a really enjoyable pattern to knit. You get into the groove really quickly because it's got the, you know, it's just raglan increases at the beginning. You start with the lace, but once you kind of, as you can see, I'm below the sleeves. Now it's just, you know, knitting in the round with doing that lace pattern, and the lace pattern is super easy to memorize. That being said, I did mess up the lace pattern at the beginning, but I rolled with it. I find you can't really tell. Only the knitter knows where their mistakes are. And most people will hopefully just be looking at the baby and not really looking at the sweater. Because hopefully I'm sure she will be a little cutie. I've got my favorite little stitch stoppers on here. These are, I believe, they're Canadian. They're from a Canadian brand. They're Fox and Pine, I believe. And I think she's based out in the east coast of Canada. When I say east coast, I mean the actual east coast, which is like the Maritimes. People often consider Ontario to be the east coast Canada, but it's actually almost halfway. Fun little fact, Canada is massive. Oh, these are my cute. I love stitch stoppers. I've got mixed feelings about. I realize I don't use these as often as I thought I would. They're only helpful when you've decided to squish tons of stitches onto a small circumference. So in this case, and when you have a slippery yarn. So since the yarn was slippery, and especially when I was doing the raglan increases, I had a lot more stitches. I was just noticing that I had to be very careful with this, so I went and grabbed my stitch stoppers and threw them on. I mean, they're absolutely adorable, so they add a lot of joy to knitting. And she's got tons of cute little ones. These are actually probably a great little gift if you've got a knitter that you want to buy something for. She does themed ones like for all like Halloween and Christmas, and they sold these at the store in Vancouver where I used to work called Urban Yarns, and I remember they were very, very popular, always selling out and always kind of getting new different designs in, so they're a lot of fun. But yeah, so this is a pattern that I've loved knitting. I've knit, like I said, this is my third one, and the first one I ever made was for my coworker, and my coworker actually ended up taking their baby photos, their baby family photos with it, and I knit them a pink one. And so just to say that I'm not the only one that really likes these sweaters, this design. She's got another good kind of basic raglan sweater as well. I find with baby knits it's kind of hard. So I do really like the look of the very like simple, just plain stockinette, plain raglan, but it can be a little fun to have a little bit of texture and uniqueness to the project. So highly recommend this project if you're considering knitting. And like I said, you can just leave out the lace and now you have a great pattern for like a raglan top down gift, or or for yourself, or for like for your own kids. I was gonna say I have, oh, the pattern's only on my phone. I think it goes up to 1 year. I think it's like 3, 6, 9, 1 year, possibly. I'm actually drinking water with ice in it today because we're switched into summer mode here in Vancouver. I think it's only like maybe 12 or 13 degrees Celsius and it's sunny with clouds, but as soon as the rain stops, we kind of treat it as summer. So I've been wearing my sandals, my flip-flops, and now I'm having ice in my water. That's one of the fun things about living in a colder climate. I find it doesn't need to be that warm before people are just going nuts. Also, I think it's the amount of rain that we get that contributes to the excitement when the sun comes out. And the other baby project, which I did show last time, and I want to say, oops, oh goodness. Sorry about the sound with the last episode. I'm not sure what happened. Hopefully it won't happen again. I am using my mic. I normally actually flip this mic the opposite way because I don't like the fact that you can see all the branding and all the lights and stuff like that, but I'm hoping that by having it on the way it's designed to be worn, it will be giving better sound. And of course, I just realized basically it depends. When you talk into the mic, it'll make it go louder. So hopefully I didn't just blow out everyone's ears when I talk down into the mic. So this has been turning out, in my opinion, just absolutely divine. I showed this last week and I think I had just done like the very beginning. I think I had just joined the bottom set. So this is a Knitting for Olive design and this is called the lace dress. Just checking my notes over here. Yep, it's the lace dress body. That's what it's called. And this is the 0 to 3 month old size. And I am knitting this in Sunday Fibre Co. barefoot sock. So Sunday Fibre Co. is a Lower Mainland, Vancouver, very local yarn. We first came across her yarns, I think 2 or 3 years ago at Knit City, and then I started following her on Instagram. She had a baby, so she took a bit of a break, and now she's kind of back at it. And I kind of, had my eye on her yarn, so I decided to go for it. I was actually lucky because the yarn store that I used to work at, Urban Yarn, started carrying her yarn just when I wanted to actually get this. So this is actually one of her special colorways. This is her May colorway, which is called Dreamscape. You can no longer buy this off her website, but I know Urban Yarns has a couple of them if you're interested. It's a very beautiful, it's almost, I'd say like it's got like a very warm kind of yellowy undertone. And then there's all sorts of variegation in it, but it's subtle variegation, which is great for the fact that this is lace. So you can see probably there that there's like little hints of purple and blue and yellow and a little bit of like a kind of a rosy color, and it's on this beautiful cream. And I got the barefoot sock. So this is a non-superwash merino. So it's considered an eco superwash yarn. So it's 80% merino and 20% recycled nylon. It's 3-ply fingering, and it is 384 meters to 115 grams. So it's quite a bit heavier per meter than a fingering. So I think this is considered like than your classic sock. So a classic sock is like 400 for 100 grams, and this is 380 for 115. So you can tell that it's quite a bit thicker possibly, or just a little bit heavier. It's kind of hard to know exactly when you're just looking at the weight of yarn because yarn can be spun in different ways that makes it different densities. But I would say that this is a thicker fingering, especially when I compare it to this one. Like here, I wonder if I can even just go like that. I don't know if you're going to be able to tell. Oopsies. To be honest, but there's quite a bit of, it's a visual difference on my side between these two yarns. So the one thing with this pattern, so I'm doing the 0 to 3 month old size, which I think, so since it is a knitting for olive pattern, they do, knitting for olive also makes yarn. So of course they want you to buy their yarn. So rather than telling you the yardage that you need for the pattern, they tell you the number of balls. So they recommend, the yarn that they recommend to knit with this sweater is actually 450 meters per 100 grams. And no, 500 meters, sorry, per 100 grams. And so this is 380. So I'm not nearly as thick. And so I decided that one ball would probably be enough. But you can see I'm kind of taking a bit of a risk because I should have 500 meters and I have 385. The reason why I thought it might be as okay is because the size up also only calls for 100 grams. It's not till you get to the third size, which is like so this is 0 to 3, then it's 6, then it's 9. It's not till you get to the 9 month size that they recommend buying another ball. It's always a bit of a risk. I find it really hard to know how much yarn I'm going to need, and I've never run out of yarn yet, and I don't want to run out of yarn, especially because this is like a colorway that you can't even buy anymore. So I weighed this has got like a little top to it. It's like a little tank top. I think I've actually got the pattern here. So this is what the pattern looks like. And so you can see I still have the top portion to do, and I've got about a little over 20 grams. So I've got a little over, I've got between a 1/6 and a 1/5 of the ball left. So I think I am smooth sailing in terms of finishing this. I'm planning on really documenting this on my Ravelry. I'm going to try to update this because I think it'd be useful. I found a couple issues with the pattern that were confusing. One at the base, which I talked about, and then one at when doing this, they said that this like welt here is actually knit in garter, but it should be knit in stockinette because from the picture it's definitely stockinette. And luckily I've done welts before for one of Stephen West's designs, so I kind of had an idea of what was supposed to happen, which made it a lot easier to actually just do the welt based on my previous knowledge. So I'm gonna write up the Ravelry for this, and I'm planning on taking some progress photos, especially because I've been so good and I have woven in all my ends as I've gone, which for me is always a bit of a problem. I actually also blocked the skirt, so I thought it'd be hard to block the lace skirt with it when it's attached to the body, so I actually blocked it separate before I went ahead and I attached it. So this is a bottom-up pattern. If you couldn't tell, you actually knit the entire body, then you cut your yarn, then you cast on at the bottom of this lace dress, and you do the lace repeats, and then you only add decreases for the lace dress kind of at the very top. And then you join the two together, like 1 to 1 stitch, you knit all the stitches together, and then right after you do that, you do a welt, which makes this cute little bump in the pattern. And then now I'm just about to do the top half, which is going to be, already there was so many ends to weave in because you actually end up doing like an I-cord edging along all the sides, which each I-cord of course adds 2 ends. And then I found with my other knitting for all the patterns that I've done, they really want to make sure that there's like not an extra row anywhere. So for instance, when this is my beginning of row marker, which is in the very back, it's in the middle back. But for instance, when they say to do like the front and the back, because I'm gonna have to split for the armholes, rather than just having like an extra, so the beginning of round is the middle of the back, rather than having like maybe these stitches, rather than just like knitting, to the beginning around and then knitting a little bit further to get to that armhole edge, so you'd have like those stitches would have been worked 1 extra time. They recommend that you cut the yarn and then re-pick up so that you have exactly the same number of rows per side, whereas that just to me results in too many ends So I prefer, I'll just go with one more row on like the right side back. I don't personally think it's going to make that much of a difference. And for me, the idea of having to weave in an extra 2 ends for that extra row just isn't worth it. So that's my plan, because unfortunately it's like I was reading ahead and there's a lot of ends in my future, because you basically, I'm going to split for the front and the back for the sleeve holes, and then for each front and for each back I'm then going to split again for each side of the neck. So that's going to be so there's 4 pieces in total, and then you stitch together the tops of the 2 arms, and then you do the I-cord edging for each armhole. So that, I don't know how many ends that is, but I feel like it's at least 12, and I've probably done already at least 12. So this is just like the other project I did, lots of ends to weave in, but I'm extremely happy with how this turns out. So happy, in fact, that I'm wondering if I should make this exact pattern. So this is the 3-month-old size. If I should do like maybe like a year-old size. I was actually just thinking, so this is probably more, so when they showed this pattern on their website, they have the baby wearing like a cute little white tights, and then like a little collared long sleeve white shirt. And I'm just gonna look now what sizes it comes in. So this comes in 3, 6, 9, 12, and then 18 to 24 months. So because this is more of like a summer outfit, it works really great for 3 months, because she'll be born kind of right at the beginning of summer. But in order for it to work again, I'd probably have to do the 12-month-old size, which maybe, we'll see. I do absolutely love, I think this pattern is adorable. It's been fun to do. The yarn has worked out so well. I'm very happy with the softness of this yarn and the way it's been holding up, and I love the slight delicate colors. So this brand, Sunday Fibre Co., she typically does quite a bit of variegated yarn, quite a bit of like pastel-y colors. But I was so happy with this yarn, and like I said, I followed her on Instagram. She actually came out with this collection for spring, and she did a spring collection last time, but I didn't partake. This time I thought, why don't I try one skein of yarn, see if I like it, and then if I like it, I'll end up partaking. So that is what you're seeing to the right here, which is what I bought as part of her spring collection. I was lucky since I actually purchased the yarn, like she had it open for like a week window when you could kind of pre-order, and I was one of the first people to purchase, and because of that, I actually got mine shipped out right away, because she used like the samples that she was taking photos of. She like shipped those out for the people that she could fulfill orders for. So I was very lucky that I could actually have my order fulfilled with just the sample yarns. So these are the yarns that I bought, which is a slight digression here before I talk about my last baby item. But so here's the cute, unfortunately, so it's all closed now, but she actually did all this branding as well for it. I mean, it's incredible the amount of work that she put into this, in my opinion. Like, you know, so it's called the True Colors collection. I think she does one every spring. At least she did one last spring, and then this is this spring's. And as you can see, this time she actually kind of took a bit of a step away from her usual. So these are all the colors that you could get. And yes, this is my first time ever buying mini skeins. So these are 20-gram versions of this sock yarn, which I bought. So there's nylon in here, and they're fingering weight. When I picked that up, I just picked up a whole bunch of dust, which is interesting. I've got my little Costco ribbon keeping this all together, so it doesn't really, the Christmas theme doesn't really work with this spring yarns, but she did all these colors, which I think there's 12 of them. And so my plan with these beautiful little guys is actually to do another knitting for Olive sweater, and that is the Anemone sweater, which is the rows of flowers. So that's going to be my 12-month, my 1-year pattern. So now you can see those are the 4 patterns that I was going to do for the baby, and I've currently got definitely this month and probably some of next month to get them done. So there's gonna be a lot. I didn't end up getting, she also sold with her spring collection, you could buy like undyed yarn. I didn't go with that. I am gonna get like a cream as my neutral color for this, but I didn't end up going with the undyed because I thought it was more of like a cool color and I kind of want to go for something warmer. Like this is like kind of a very warm yellowy white. So I'd like to do something kind of warmer. And then basically with the I think they're like little tulips. So each row of the tulips is a color and then with a little bit of green. So I'll end up picking which colors I would like to use from this set for the sweater. I don't know yet. I was looking into the yardage and I will have enough in even just one of these to have all the leaves be the same color, which is awesome. So I think I am gonna go for this green for the leaves, which is like the chartreuse. And then I gotta decide what I want. This is my first time buying minis, so I've always kind of thought that maybe they were a bit not very practical. But I think for like little color elements, they're going to be amazing. And the fact that I can actually now make this sweater, I really want to have all the different tulips without having to buy like, you know, 6 or 7 different colors for one sweater, which would have been quite a lot. So these are all the colors. And then as you can see, she had a thing where to get free shipping, I always fall for this, to get free shipping, you had to spend a certain amount of money. So I went up to the free shipping mark. I also bought these 3 colors, which I'm very happy with. So these 2 are actually her 100% merino non-superwash, which I wanted to try. It's her Kindred Fingering, and this is Out of the Blue, and this is Plum Age, and I'm planning on only doing baby knits with these. And then this is a new blend that she got, which is a mist fingering, which is 70% alpaca, 20% silk, and 10% cashmere. I've never knit with cashmere before. It's kind of ironic that I bought cashmere for my baby, but I think she'll probably love it. I got to introduce her to wool, so she's happy to wear it because we're a wool family. Well, we'll see that she's allowed to not like it, of course. But anyways, this is ridiculously soft. Like this is alpaca, cashmere plus silk. I think it's like pretty much all the softest things. It does have quite a bit of a halo to it, which I wasn't really expecting. So I am gonna make a older size just because I've heard that with babies you don't want to have too many fibers kind of flying off just because they kind of go into their lungs. Plus I think I'm gonna try to use up as much yardage of this as possible in one sweater. So I'll probably do like a 1-year-old size or whatever size I can max out for the sweater. This color does have a little more, there is a little bit of subtle variation to it, which you probably can't tell, but there's different shades of this beautiful kind of chartreuse green. There's a little bit of kind of like a darker green. So there's this is definitely going to be sweater. I think this is going to be a sweater, and then I think this is going to be pants. And I'm hoping to knit this in, I think it's Purl Soho that has a set of pants that are ribbed. I'll make sure to include it in the video and in the description below. And then I was kind of hoping, since they're ribbed, they'll have negative ease, so they should hopefully fit her for a long time. And so I think that like these 2 would be really, really cute outfit together. And then this as well for just kind of bright. Oh, sorry, this as well for a top and a bottom. I really like this light blue. I think it's just absolutely gorgeous. So I really do like her yarns. Feel free to go check her out. As you can see, you know, we always talk about drapiness depending on the fiber content. It's so interesting. So this is the one that has all the alpaca and silk and cashmere, which are soft fibers, so they tend to be quite drapey. And then this is the non-superwash merino. And I don't know if you can tell, just the difference in how much they flop shows the structure difference in the yarn. So how drapey the yarn is going to be. So typically the softer the yarn, the more drapey it's going to be because it's got more slip to it, kind of less like teeth holding it in place. So I think this one, you know, I'll need to be a little more delicate with washing, but this one will felt a little bit easier. They're just, you know, different fibers have different purposes. This one's really nice, more nice. It's better for cables and any sort of texture knitting that you want to show up. This might be better for like a lace, something that's going to be a little more delicate, like a shawl, something where you want that drape. So that was my little acquisitions. Anyways, so Sunday Fibre Co. I'm very excited to kind of try out quite a bit of her yarn, and hopefully, like I said, I have those 4 projects I want to do, and then you can see I've got yarn for 3 more, which I need to kind of hold back, because I tend to, yeah, I mean, I think everyone does. It's so much easier to buy yarn, or so much quicker to buy yarn than it is to knit. So it's so much easier, you know, and then you get distracted by nice shiny things. So I've got now enough yarn for the baby. And my third project that I've been working on, that I've just been making steady progress on for a while now. So this is a project that I actually started in December, and then I've just recently kind of started actually making good progress on it, and that is the 10 stitch blanket. It is a very relaxing knit, which I've really enjoyed. Originally I actually liked this side, but now this side has really grown on me for being the front of the sweater. I don't know why, I just like how you can kind of see all the colors together. So since I've last shown this in the last month, I've done 1 more ball of yarn. So this is Noro's Kureyon yarn. It is a 100% wool. It's a single ply with a little kind of a light twist to it. So it's kind of quite, it's very easy to join new balls, which is fantastic. It's got variegation. It's a self-changing yarn. I went for a whole bunch of colors, so I ended up, I think there's 6 balls total that are so far that I've got. So as you can see, I'm a little over halfway. I've got 2 full balls, and then this is probably like a third of a ball left, and then I'm just going to kind of see how much I can get to in that. I want this blanket to be probably between 3 and 4 feet wide. It is a square, so I'm going to end it so that it will be square, although I could end it so that it is like a little bit of a rectangle. That wouldn't be the end of the world, but I'm going to have to basically either all the sides should be the same length, or I should do a rectangle. So I should have 2 extra sides. I think I'm just going to honestly finish all the yarn that I have. So I found that I got about a 1 by 1 foot square from 1 ball of yarn. So since I'm using 6, I should have a 3 by 3. No, that's not right, because if it was 3 by 3, I'd need 9 balls of yarn. So I think I'm gonna have somewhere between a 2 and a 3 foot blanket. So maybe that actually is too small, but this looks to me like it's already getting on 2 feet. In fact, I think that I might almost be at 2 feet with, oh yeah, right, 2 feet at 4 skeins makes sense, because you can think it's like 2 1 by 1, like 4 1 by 1 balls. Let's just see here how we're doing. We are at, so this is centimeters, but we're at 53. What's the other side say? Okay, so we're at 21 inches, and 2 feet is 24. So, so yeah, I've probably used almost 4 balls, and we're under 2 feet. 24, yeah, so we're at 20 inches. Okay, there you go. So maybe I might need to buy more yarn. I'm kind of hoping I might just settle for whatever size it is. I'll see what size we get to, and then we're gonna start. We haven't really bought any baby stuff yet, so I think once we buy like or something, then I'll have a relative size of how big I want the blanket to be. Like I was kind of hoping this would go in the stroller or in the car, or it could be used as like a nice kind of like picnic blanket just for the baby or something like that. So it is 100% wool, so it's gonna be super duper cozy. So I'm kind of envisioning as we go for walks where it's actually pretty cold, I'd maybe wrap her first in something like cotton, something that's like a little more softer against her skin, because this yarn is a little bit, it's not as ridiculously soft as like this, for instance, but it's very, very hardy. I love, like, Noro yarns are, I've worked with them quite a bit, and I've really loved working with them. They super easy to join two balls together. The color changes. I really do. I love the yarn. I think that it's quite distinct, which is the only kind of, I think you either kind of really like the way it looks or you really don't. It's a little more polarizing, but I do think that this blanket will be ridiculously warm because it's 100% wool. It's a Aran weight yarn, so that means it's going to be like a thicker wool blanket. And I do find that when you use and make your own wool things, they tend to be warmer than what you buy in the store. I think it's because there's more weight to them. Like this blanket will be quite heavy, and I know that it's like 100% wool. So anyways, point being, I think this will be really good. I want to be able to like kind of fully wrap her up and even maybe like double it up if I had to. So based on, I've been kind of doing like one ball a month. I'm trying to get this done for the end of June, so I might have to pick up my pace a teeny tiny bit. Luckily, the hockey is huge in Canada. I don't watch hockey at all during the year, but we're in the playoffs, so hopefully the team will keep doing well because I've been knitting during the hockey games. And this is a really good one to do because it's a very relaxing knit, and I've really enjoyed doing the garter stitch. I thought that it might become boring, but I've really liked it. It's been really enjoyable. It makes me want to do, I've always wanted to do the Purl Soho half and half triangle wrap, but I've been very intimidated by it because it's 6 skeins of fingering weight yarn, all garter stitch. You basically, if you haven't seen it before, you do like one giant triangle in one color, and then you do another giant triangle in a different color, and I committing to 6 fingering weight yarn, which means it's huge yardage. So it's this huge luxurious shawl. Like, I love the way they look, but I tend to get a little bit bored easily. Like I have a lot of works in progress, so I've always been kind of worried about starting something that requires so much yarn, which means it'll take forever for me to probably complete. If you've been following along, you may notice that I frequently start and stop projects, but I want a bit of at least now I have a bit of a goal for these baby knits, so they should be done on time. And also the other thing, so I've talked about the Anemone project, which I'm planning to start soon. The other thing I realized that could be kind of fun to make something is, so I joined the knit collage project many years, maybe a few years ago, and I seeked my first ever sweater. This was the Magic Mountain Cardi. I love this sweater. It's kind of fun to wear. I kind of wear it as like a jacket when we go out for like a nice dinner. But what I've kept all the leftover yarn, oops, and which is back here, and I've always wondered what the heck I can do with it, and I realized I think this could be a cute baby sweater. I think there's plenty of yarn here, so this is a super bulky yarn, as you can probably tell, but I think I have enough to do like a cute color work, or maybe 1-year-old or maybe even a 2-year-old sweater. It should be relatively quick to knit because the yarn is so big. So I was gonna kind of do some deep diving on Ravelry. I just had this idea. If you know of any projects, children projects that are a super bulky yarn that are like a sweater, preferably with a little bit of color work, I'll do some deep diving. Let me know, because I'm gonna that's how I'm gonna use up the rest of this yarn. It's quite bulky, it takes up a lot of space, so it would be nice to knit it into something, just like the sweater itself was quite bulky. I do find, I mean, it was so much fun doing the knit along. Amy Smalls from Knit Collage runs them with, she's got a lot of really fun designs. The yarn itself does pill quite easily, so I've worn this a lot, but I don't know if you can tell, but there's like little, it is it's like a single ply yarn, so it really easily pills. It is 100% wool, which doesn't help things, and as you can see, it's basically got like no twist to it. I think there's like 1 or 2 pieces of sparkly plastic that it's woven with, so it's basically almost just like that kind of roving that you would like felt with like a teeny bit of a spin, which leads to, you know, kind of not the best longevity, I would say, but it's a lot of fun. It's got a lot of character to it, which is one of the things I really like about her yarn, and I would totally make another sweater. I just subscribe to her, and then I just kind of follow and wait for something that I'd be interested in. It is a little bit of a pricey thing, especially if you're Canadian with shipping it. I think that is literally my most expensive sweater by a fair margin. So, but it was fun and it was an experience. So I recommend it. And now I'm excited to try to find something else. So yeah, that was my knitting in the past month. We're kind of heading into nicer weather, which tends to mean a little bit less knitting, but I will also be going on mat leave, so perhaps that'll balance out the knitting, who knows. So hope everyone is having a good kind of official spring and enjoying, you know, the weather wherever you are. And thanks so much for stopping by. As always, I just appreciate everyone that takes the time to listen to me just ramble on, and hope you have a great May, and see you all at the beginning of June. That's crazy. All right, bye.